Yeah, so when you go live,
can everybody hear me?
I don't know where you're at.
I don't either.
She's live right here. She's live right here. All right.
The link is
Yeah, I need to get the link. Let's see. Webcam.
It can go right in the chat window, can't it?
Shareable link. I got that. Okay.
well, first you go to that link.
I will. Okay. Just give me a second, all right? One thing at a time. I can't do this. I really can't do this. The curtain's falling down just ruined my day. No, that's not what I want to do. Why? That's what I want to do.
How do we let everybody know the link has changed?
Well, I'm trying to get in there.
Okay.
All right, Pam's in there, so let me message her. Hold on. Where's she at? Pam.
I see 3 people in there. Oh, I'm upside down.
Now the internet wants to be slow here. Let me call Pam real quick, okay?
Can anybody hear me or see me?
Just a second, Sue. Patience. Hold on.
I'm asking that because it shows that on my picture up.
Just hold on. I gotta call Pam. She's got to share the link. It's a different link.
Okay, so what I'm seeing is not the right link. Yes, people are seeing see you and hear you just fine.
Okay, let me get in there.
So I thought I was up. Hello, everybody. You get a close-up of me with all my wrinkles and everything.
Am I there? Yeah, I see you.
Okay, Tammy can see me too. I am so sorry. Just getting going. I was trying a new software and it didn't work. So now I am just going to do it this way, and my camera won't stay in place, so I'm going to hold it in place and talk to you. Welcome everyone to the new Tatting Design class. As you can see, we're having a few troubles getting going. So let me start. I am not going to be able to. Everything got messed around on my table, so I want to talk today about, well, first of all, tomorrow there is the International Tatting Day class that Tammy's going to do. It'll be at 3 o'clock Eastern time, and she will be sending out a link for that. So that's to look forward to, and there's a wonderful pattern. If you go to our website, it is listed under the if you go under Resources tab when you're on the home page, and then you click on Special Events, the class for tomorrow is listed on there, and also the pattern and a link to the pattern so you can download it. So you should all be able to find that. And I'm so excited to be back teaching the design class, even though right at the moment things haven't gone quite the way we'd hoped. what I want to do is give you a little overview of the class. And this class it's going to be a hands-on class. For supplies, you're going to need all your regular basic tatting kit. You're going to need at least 2 shuttles and 2 different colors of thread. I really recommend using size 10 while you're designing. You can go smaller if you want, but it's size 10 is a nice overall for learning to design. The class is going for 6 weeks, just like the other 2 classes, the beginning and the intermediate advanced. And then we'll be off for summer and we'll start back in the fall again. In the fall, I will be running 12 weeks, the 6 weeks, 2 weeks off, and then I'll continue on with the design. I won't be going back to the beginning. So if you come in the fall, you can watch the videos for this session, this first session. You know, there's many different ways to design. Different designers use different ways. And I'm going to take you through the way that helps you learn design, and we'll get into a little bit of sketching. Now, some designers like Jane Eberall, she will just look at a picture and then start tatting. And then she actually keeps her computer beside her and types in the instructions as she goes. But a lot of us have never, we've been in the world so long and we look at things, but we don't really see them. And that's the main thing with designing is when you look at things, like say you go out and look at a flower, you know, now you look, you might think, oh, that's a yellow iris and it's got this, you know, and you don't even really look at the shape of the petals or the leaves and look at the little details that make it what it is. And there's a way to learn that by practicing. You know, ideas are all around us everywhere. One of the best things to do if you don't have an idea is do something really relaxing. Go take a walk in nature is one of the best things that you can do. So you can find them everywhere. I'm doing a little stutter here. Got to get used to getting this going with my everything I want to say in my head. This is going to be very slow and step by step. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I can't sketch or I can't do that. We're starting way at the beginning. And what we're going to use, if you downloaded the download that was listed, which is also given on there is a page up on the web now on the site for each of the classes, and there's a design class page, and you will find the handout there too. I want to show you this. These are the elements and principles of design. Is it backwards for you guys? It's backwards for me, but I think it should be okay for you. We're going to talk about the elements, which they're the building blocks. You have, I'm not getting it in the camera, right? That's because I don't have it facing down. I'll talk without my face from now on. Tammy, can you see this? And is it straight? The elements of design and the principles of design, you know, they're not always the same in every field. You've got all these terms. It's upside down right now. Somebody said it's fine, and Tammy said it's upside down. Upside down. Okay, I don't want to make you guys dizzy going around here, but I may have. Okay. These elements and designs, they're different in every different field. There's so many terms that are almost interchangeable that people define them in different ways. This is the way I feel is best for our class. And these elements like this are usually pretty standard. Um, the principles of design, I've seen anywhere from 5 to 13 listed as the main principles of design. And we don't need to don't worry about memorizing or anything. We're going to go step by step through these. And as we go through them, we're going to look at the tatting shapes and forms that we use to create those. So it'll all go hand in hand. Now, the elements are the basic um, building blocks. They are the things that you're working with. You've got, and these are the design elements, and then we'll relate them to tatting elements. Like the first one, line. Lines can be so different. You can have smooth curved lines, straight lines. And I think if all of you think about it, a line is really quite self-explanatory as far as tatting goes. We've got chains. And so we will start with next week with talking about chains and the different shapes of line. Lines can have emotion to them and moods. They can be squiggly, which are excited, or they can be very staid and straight lines, or they can be very geometric. So lines are important, and we can do so many things with chains. I will be putting up on um, the class page the link for Muscan's chain study. It's on her website at, I believe it's tipsaroundthehouse.com, Muscans. And when years ago for our class, this class actually I began teaching it in 2010. And a bunch of us had an idea that a design class would be nice. And I called Georgia and said, could I do a design class for the online classes? And that's how we got started. And Muscan, when she came to classes, she got so into the line element and chains that she made an entire sample sheet for us. So you can see how many different kinds of chains there are. And then we'll get into shapes and forms. And that's really important in tatting too, because shapes, everything in the world is composed of basic shapes. And we're talking basic. We're talking like a circle or an oval or a triangle or a rectangle. Just those basic shapes that you already know, maybe a star or a heart. But even a star and a heart can be made of smaller shapes. And the shapes that we have, basic ones, we start out with having the ring shape, which is the teardrop shape, upside down. And then we can add decorative picots. And those don't actually have a place as far as in the design elements, but those are something that just add to a design if you like them. But when the shapes, like when you think of a clover that has a bigger ring in the center and the two small ones on the side, the basic outline of that is a triangle. And motifs often start with a circular center. We'll talk about the different kind of centers that you can have for a motif or a medallion. Then we'll get into space, which is formed between your positive elements of the tatting itself and the spaces in between. We'll get into color and we'll get into texture. And texture for tatting, if you have the piece yourself, you're talking about actually feeling the texture. But when other people look at the pattern to work it, you can see the visual texture also. And we'll be talking about that. So we'll go through these step by step. And then we also, through the 6 weeks, we'll go through the principles here. And you use principles to arrange and manipulate the shapes that you have. You know, if you have a clover and then a ring and then a clover, we'll talk about repetition and a pattern forming. And you even can create rhythms in something. And then we can also adjust size and scale and proportion. And we can use emphasis, which actually can create a focal point or draw the eye to a certain part of it. And then we'll use contrast. And so we'll talk about each of these as we go through each of the elements, and we'll be tatting at the same time. The first project we're going to work on starting next week, we're going to talk about shapes and talk about the beginning of making a motif. And that's going to be our project for the 6 weeks. And there's going to be a lot of different ways that I'll show you how you can use that when the design is completed. We'll talk about how you write the pattern out and how you diagram. We're not going to get into computer diagramming. What I'll be showing you is just making very, very rough sketches. The word sketch is a looseness it's not drawing, like looking at the line. And Jackie, I just happened to catch the chat. You are in real time. I broke my own line of thought. Sketching is loose and easy. If you can write your name, you can sketch. That's all there is to it. And practice, like everything else. Designing tatting is practicing and experimenting. If you look at like it as an adventure, it's fun to look and figure out, what do I need in this particular spot to make this shape? And then I'm still losing my train of thought. So that's what we'll be doing for the 6 weeks. Next week, starting a motif and starting right from the beginning. Now, we will also talk about, besides how to write the patterns and diagram them loosely in a sketch. Although if you are already familiar with a computer drawing program, you're more than welcome to start there. A lot of people nowadays like to start their designs on the computers. And a lot of times what I've always used is having a template pattern that I already have different sizes of rings on and different sizes of chains, and I can just put them into the design, copy and paste them in. One of the things that happens when you use this well, I should probably mention also that these are not necessarily, you don't think of these individually as you're designing, like the repetition or the alignment. You do need to think about it in an overall sense. What's really good about it is it's great for troubleshooting. Once you know these, or at least have an idea of them, you might look at them. I know a lot of times we'll get a piece of tatting that we like it, but we're thinking that's not quite something's not right. When that something's not right, that's the problem in designing. just looking at it yourself. You may not know why you don't like it, but knowing all these elements and principles and how they work together can oftentimes help you figure out what is wrong with the design. Maybe there's a balance that's off. Maybe there's an alignment that's off. Um, Maybe one part's got too much of something and another part doesn't. So that's the really important thing about using the elements and principles. And if you use them well, what we're aiming for, let me turn my page over, is using them well. And if you use them well, you will get variety in a design. You'll get movement. You may have a focal point. One part may dominate a little more over another. And if that part does, you do have to make sure that that's balanced out with the other parts of the design so that it doesn't look wrong. That little thing, there's something not quite right. And it also put together, it gives you consistency. So the whole design makes sense. And interest also is important. And you can create that. But a lot of time, a lot of designers don't think about any of these things when they design. And that's because they have kept their way of it's like a childlike way. You know, when you're little, or you take your little kids out on a walk when they first start walking, and you go outside, they want to pick up every stone. They want to pick up flower. They want to touch and look over everything that they see. And a lot of people, they'll see the details because they're learning to process what it is. But along the way, a lot of us, because art is always a lot of times been considered secondary. Oh, you got to go to school and learn, and we got to study this, and this. And in society, it has always been more important what you're learning in school than keeping up with your talent, your innate creativity and talents that you have. So that's the way we'll start looking at things. We're going to look at them and really see the parts, see the shapes. The main thing is to see the shapes that they consist of. And in the end, then you get a design that has harmony, visual impact, and unity. So that's what we're all aiming for. I didn't really introduce myself and say anything for those people who don't know me. Um, my name is, yes, Sue Fuller. And I've been tatting since I was 22, a little over 50 years, and I did start teaching right away. And in order to teach beginning classes, I felt like um, I needed some patterns that were simple and easy. So I started doing snowflakes and all. And then I ended up being encouraged to put them into a book, which I did, and it still is not reprinted and it's not available anymore. Um, but to be honest, through the years, I've done a lot more teaching than designing. I fell in love with teaching, whether I went back to school at age 40 and took multimedia classes. And well, before that, because that happened after we moved to Colorado. Before that, in Michigan, um, I had taken one semester of classes. I wanted to go back to school and get my bachelor's degree. I took one semester of art classes. And so that's where my design background started, with the art classes I took. You know, I had photography and sketching and a color class and all. And then after we moved out to Colorado, I never did finish because of one of my sons had a lot of medical problems. When we moved out to Colorado in 1990, I was working in a lot of craft stores and craft and fabric stores and all. And um, was encouraged to put my designs into a book. And I got interested in working on the computer and was taught how to use a desktop publishing program. And then I found out about a multimedia technology course at our local community college, Front Range Community College. And it was a 1-year course, and I took that and I learned web design and Illustrator and Photoshop. And my design background comes from that. And then I ended up teaching in that field at the college. So really teaching, I haven't designed much since then. I do have a lot of designs sketched. I want to start. I probably should have put something under here for you to see while I was talking. But this was one of my very first. This is copy paper. And I've put it in. See, this is a 3-ring binder. And my sketches were very, very rough. This is what I used to make snowflakes, a little template. But look at this one. This was just on regular old lined paper. And see how messy that is. But later that can be refined a little, but it gets down the idea that I wanted. And here I've started drawing it. So this is the way I began. I also have some things like this. This was when I was designing my heart's desire. These are some of the other drawings I made. But you can see in between these drawings, I've got stops and starts and different kinds of drawings. Here's another drawing that I was going to turn into a spaceship. The other thing I do, and I don't have a sample right here, is here's a rough sketch of an angel that I did finish designing. And first I just had the bare outlines. And now in this you can see, you've got an oval for the head. The wing is kind of like overall, if you come out and down, back up, it's kind of like a triangle with a little edge. The skirt is basically a triangle. And that's what you would start with on a very, very rough way. And then this I've refined down some. And actually, what I tend to do then is I'll start drawing different samples. And we'll talk all about that, what the next steps are after that. And let me get my little notes out here. We will also be talking terms. One of the, I'm going to put something under here just so it doesn't look so blank under there while you're listening to me. If I can get that to stay up there. One of the things that I keep losing. Excuse me, this first class, I am kind of losing my place. A tatter needs to know, to be a designer, you have to know what tatting elements you can use. You have to know tatting. You have to know the techniques well. And there are so many techniques that aren't used very much. And that's where you can come up with originality in your design. And as you progress, you'll learn the best way for you to design. You'll start learning your style. And these things will all come as we progress through, step by step, through making a design. We'll talk a lot about terms. Patterns need correct terms used. So in this class, we'll use correct terms for everything. And as I started to say, originality and your own style will develop as you go. I should ask now, first of all, are there any questions? I haven't stopped for questions. I've just been talking so much. If you have any questions, just pop them in the chat box. I guess I'll keep talking. Here's a wing I had started designing. None so far. Okay, not a single question. Thanks, Tammy. Next week, we'll be starting with a chain study and lines, and we'll be starting with shapes. There's so many things. One of the things about I thought I was going to have more than enough to say today. Maybe I should ask, how many of you in here have ever designed anything? Or are we starting? If you're a brand newbie, that's fine. If you want to just learn more, one of the things we will talk about a lot are different techniques. Like when we study shapes, we may be studying how to make a corner or how to make a triangle. And those kind of things we'll be talking about what techniques we can use. You know, for a corner, sometimes you can use a clover. There's a way to make a pointed chain, which is not as well known. And so we will be looking at those techniques. Oh, wonderful that we have new people, new to design. That's wonderful. But this is the perfect place to start. And it'll be a fun adventure. Even if you eventually feel that you don't want to be a designer, that's fine too. You can still learn in this class and you can contribute to the class too. Because throughout the class, as we go in each class, I will have some questions. I'll have some things for you to think about. I don't think I told you all the supplies. I showed you my notebook. You are going to need a notebook. And you will want to keep things in there like the chain study and different handouts that I'm going to have. And you also are going to want any kind of paper to design on. I actually have a sketchbook now that I'll show you a couple pages of. This is just a top spiral bound thing, and I keep all kinds of things in here. To start a motif or a design usually involves a lot of brainstorming. And so when I do some of my things, these are just, I wrote down chains with spokes above this. Or this one says rings with picots for corners. And down below I have, this is going to go sideways. See how you can write notes all around. As you start thinking about it and thinking about a path, you have to start with a path. Write suggestions down. You always want to keep a notebook. And even when say you're doing dishes or you're just sitting relaxing, you're taking a walk, keep a little notebook with you. Because when ideas come, it's like you can blink and they'll be gone. And you'll remember that you thought of something neat, but you can't remember what it is. So an artist, if you're a artists always keep something with them. And yes, they do still make sketches on napkins. They will grab whatever is available. And so if you keep a little notebook, you can always write down ideas and things that come to you. And maybe you'll think you'll have a pattern, you'll be in the middle of a design and you'll think, boy, I just don't know what to do next. Go out and take a walk and maybe that'll come to you. But you need to write it down right then because by the time you get home, there's a good chance you won't remember it. Um, and when you relax, doing dishes, I found is a time, or in the showers when ideas come. So you want to get those written down. I don't know what else I might. I just have all kinds of things in here. And you can notice these are not, these are messy. These are not anything great. Just messy things all over. Here's another one. I'll put my messy notebook under there. Oops. Let's see. Imagine a design and incorporate the stitch that would work. Yes, or maybe a new combination stitch. You know, that's one thing. Designing is experimentation and it is exploration. Even inventors, artists, it's all explorations and oftentimes associations. You'll think of one thing and then maybe something you see even in a store when you're shopping for maybe home decor or clothes. You might see ideas for color combinations. People say they don't know how to use color. Well, it's all around you, all around. And even if you're shopping in a store, you might see a stack of washcloths or something, and it might have 2 or 3 colors in it to coordinate with a color scheme. And use that for your inspiration. You don't always have to know the color wheel, which we will get into. You can just go into your closet, look at the color combinations in there, and pick some of those to try. There's so many different things that go along with designing. And you'll be trying new techniques out because that's another way to get originality is try techniques that haven't been used much before. Another thing about designing is you're going to need your notebook and you will want to have for individual, I use copy paper. Copy paper is great. I keep my ideas like in a sketchbook, but a lot of times I just draw when I have a particular idea, just draw on copy paper. The nice thing about that is if you're drawing in pencil and you go to start tatting and you want to line it up, you're going to find that the pencil rubs off onto your tatting. So you're going to want to put it in a plastic sleeve or put a piece of plastic over it. What works nice is using a clipboard for your copy paper to do your designing. So a clipboard is always handy. And pencils. And you can slide a piece of acetate or anything clear. If you have nothing else, cover it with saran wrap or something so that you can lay your pieces on your design to get the right shaping of the tatting. So something interesting. This is an edging. And with picots going 2 directions. See the feel that this gives with the wavy lines because I've alternated up picot or up stitches and picots with down stitches and picots. This kind of looks maybe a little frilly, but carefree. It has a carefree look to it. And the colors remind me of fall. Um, I'm trying to think of what else I should say today. It's getting to be after 2 o'clock because we got started so late. So I think for today, you know the supplies to bring, and just be sure and have blank paper, your 2 shuttles, and your thread. And I like to use, I don't think I have it in here, but I like to use mechanical pencils for my sketching. Next week, we'll start looking at all the different kinds of chains you can make. And we're going to make sample books. As a designer, a sample book is, to me, essential. We'll talk about like the size of thread and maybe the size of ring you want to make. And if you have some samples already made, like a ring out of different sizes with the stitch counts written down on it, now that's something then that you would keep in your notebook. And that can be, you can use, some people for a design will use, I think Tammy uses index cards a lot. And you can use self-stick tape or something to stick them onto the card, and then that can go in your design notebook. So we'll be making a lot of samples to put in the notebook. Calculations part of the notebook. Yes, Jackie. You want to keep very, very good notes, because even if you've got something that you're working on and it's not working for the particular design that you have going at the moment, it might be the perfect thing for another design. So you're going to want to keep all your little pieces that you make too, and parts with notes, because, a list, I don't have a list of the supplies right now on paper. I will put it up on the web. Basically, it's paper to put ideas in, to sketch on. And like I showed earlier, I even use lined paper, a spiral notebook with lined paper in it. Another thing, an optional, is to get a gridded paper. I'll show you next week a dot grid paper. A lot of designers like to design on grid paper when they go to make a specific design. You just need plain paper for beginning rough sketch ideas. We'll do a lot of brainstorming. And so you definitely need papers, pencil. You'll be needing a notebook to keep things in, and you can have a separate notebook for binder notebook for putting things in, and then a separate stack of copy paper or a sketchbook or even a small spiral notebook to start keeping your ideas and sketches in. Then I don't know, are there any questions about what when you think about designing, what do you feel is your stumbling block? We'll talk about where to actually begin. Sending the hand months email, they will come in the email. Like today, you only got the elements and principles, because that's what we're going to be following and utilizing as we're designing. What we'll do is maybe talk about how each element, not maybe, we will, how each design element works with your tatted pieces. We'll be setting others' designs. Next week, I'm going to put a link to Harola's beginner doily that she designed for the beginning class. And that's a perfect one for us to study and look at what makes the design good. What do you like about it? What don't you like? You know, designs are just like art, are subjective. Not everyone is going to like your design. And that's fine. I mean, we all have different tastes and different things that we like. And so not everyone is going to like everything. So I think I got all the supplies in. If there's anything else, we'll add it as we go, and nothing else, we need to get started. Hope you're going to share how to be the best organized as a designer. Well, the first thing is a sample notebook and a place to keep your sketches, a specific place. Carry a little notebook. Oh, I didn't mention another thing. If you're on a nature walk, a lot of us carry your phone now. Take a picture. Pictures are wonderful to have. And you might see things that you like in a magazine that you want to copy. Magazines are great for looking at color combinations. Um, I'll be giving you a lot of links as we go to where you can do some extra reading about each of these things. And I don't see any more of what I think most people just don't know where to start. And we're going to take care of that. We have a process we're going to go through, and there'll be a handout next week on that. But the one thing to keep in mind is you want to enjoy what you're designing. It's not a job. It's something you can enjoy and experiment with and play with. A lot of playing, a lot of retro tatting. Designs just don't happen without a lot of redoing and changing. And it's like putting a puzzle together and or figuring out a mystery. And so as we go, we'll talk more about each of these things and really get into them. And I think that's about it for today. I look very forward to seeing you next week. I'll make sure that my video is working correctly. I had tried to start in a different software that Tammy and I've been working on, and it just didn't work this morning. So that's why we got a late start. But anyway, oh, index cards. I forgot about. Oh, I think I did. I mentioned index cards, and I'll show you more ways to keep like your tatted pieces in your notebook along with your notes and everything. That's something I'll show you next week. So that's about it for today. I'm so excited that you all came. I hope you come back next week and we'll get started doing our designing. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Bye.